Well, it's true that in Colorado we have, at the local level, a higher tax burden per capita than the national average, but we have a lower state tax burden per capita than the national average. When you put the two together, we are actually below average. And in fact, the Tax Foundation ranks us as one of the top 10 business tax climates in the country in terms of not just low tax burdens, but they also take into account some of the other policies, our tax and spending limits and so on. But as I say, actually I agree with your point that at what's happening now is we are rapidly shifting from an optimum business tax climate to a far less than optimum, not just in terms of regulatory policies, but also in terms of tax policies. What's happening in Colorado is what I call stealth taxes. That is, the state has not been successful in getting voters to approve new taxes or increase existing taxes at the ballot box. They've been defeated 9 out of 10 times there. So they're coming in the back door.
How so?
And, well, if you take a look, everybody complains about fees. Well, that, in a sense, this is a form of taxation. When they raise your car registration fee hundreds of dollars, or they require that you pay a fee if you don't keep your license up to date for hundreds of dollars, that is in effect a tax. And another way they've done this is to freeze property taxes. Property taxes were scheduled to decrease last year. Governor Ritter froze those property taxes. One of the most insidious hidden taxes I find is a tax on hospital rooms. And that shows up, they've imposed a fee on occupancy in hospitals that you don't even see it on your bill.
Part of the legislation was a fee when you go to the hospital, a 5% fee, and in the legislation it dictated that hospitals could not show it on their bill as a separate line item. So they just had to increase everything by 5%, and there it goes. Let me argue another one though. But when we talk about the regulatory costs, now when they impose a 30% feel-good energy mandate on us, nobody says this is a tax. But my pocketbook doesn't know the difference between writing the check out to Excel that's increased or writing it out to the state government. All I know is I have less disposable income because these regulations are going up.
Clearly, when your electric bill goes up 4 or 6% per year, which is what Excel says is going to happen with those regulatory policies, you end up with less disposable income. Businesses end up paying higher electricity costs, and many of them are going to go out of business. There are a lot of farmers and small businesses that are right on the margin. You bump up their electricity bill 6%, some of them are going to go out of business. They're certainly going to hire fewer employees. So there's no question, if you take a look at the analysis of higher electricity costs resulting from those regulations, it will have a negative effect on the economy. It will lead us to much slower rates of economic growth.
See, I told you, there's nothing better than watching 3 white guys bitch about the economy. This is good television. All right, we got about 5 minutes left. Let's assume there's somebody who's a little happier than we are watching television. We want to give them something. What's going to turn this around? Because I'm hearing from you that in a couple of years, our budget's going to be in a lot of trouble if our economy doesn't kick in and the money from Uncle Sam stops flowing into to cover us. At the same point, that means more taxes. But you're telling me that you don't see a whole lot of growth coming up here anytime soon. You see it's kind of sputtering along.
Yes.
So what do we need?
Well, we need a change in legislators and elected officials.
And if we do that,
more pro-business people.
And if we do that, be more specific for me. If we do that, what are they going to do that's different?
You have to adopt an atmosphere in this state that is more pro-business, because a pro-business climate benefits everyone. Everyone in the state benefits from a healthy business environment. More hiring, more tax revenue for all these various programs that people want. So you've got to have an overall plan, scheme, group of legislators who want a more pro-business environment, such as lower taxes, fewer regulations, and that's where we'll start.
Is there any one particular bit of legislation that's happened in the last couple of years that you would target as a key to undo?
I don't know if there's one key, John, because what really overhangs all this, and I said about it at the beginning of the show, is uncertainty. I think if you get a new group of legislators in new elected officials with some new ideas, that's going to do a lot to dispel some of the uncertainty. Because what they've seen for the last couple of years has been all negative. There hasn't been anything good.
But we elected a pro-business Democrat as our governor. Remember that? So many people in the business community wrapped themselves around Bill Ritter when they said this is a pro-business guy.
Well, I think that his decision not to run again is partly driven by the fact that his support in the business community has eroded.
I'm going to bring it over here. Be specific. If you were the king of Colorado, tell me, what kind of things would you undo that's happened in the last few years? And then where would you go when it comes to policy, particularly on taxes and regulation?
Well, I agree with Tom. I think that we certainly need to repeal some of this recent legislation and go back to the kind of policies that created one of the best business tax climates in this country. Specifically, I think we need to go back and strengthen our tax and spending limits. They've been eroded, whether it's the Burt Arbuscow or Tabor.
For those people who aren't following, these were limits that said on Burt Arbuscow, government can only grow about 6% a year. Anything above that, we don't spend in their general budget. We can use it to build buildings and roads. Those are one-time things. This legislature got rid of it, and so now we can spend more to make government grow faster, and that needs to change.
Exactly, and I also agree. I think we need to go back to the low tax policies that strengthen our economy. We need to repeal some of these stealth taxes, hidden taxes.
Any one of those that you think is worse than the others?
Well, if I were to, the highest priority to me would be to lower the income tax. I think we could cut the income tax in half and create an even better business tax climate than we've ever had in the past.
Wouldn't that just destroy the budget, though? Wouldn't we get no money in if we halved the income tax?
No, I think if you look at a state with a low tax burden, especially income taxes, I just completed a study for the Cato Foundation. The single greatest deterrent to economic growth in any state is high income taxes. And lowering the marginal income tax rate is the single most important thing a state can do to promote economic growth.
And your customers would be happy. We've only got a few seconds left.
Our state has adopted the California model of taxation and regulation when you could easily adopt the Texas model, which has been so successful.
Barry Poulson, thank you so much, and thank you for your years of work here, and thank you for helping us with the flat tax so many years ago. And thank you for keeping my money safe at Citywide Banks. You still giving away lollipops?
We'll keep an eye on your money. Don't worry.
All right. Tell a friend about the Independence Institute. Listen for me late nights on 850 KOA. Check out some great podcasts at ivoices.org, and we'll see you next week.
I mean, you keep on talking, but you don't know where to turn it off.